Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello students, welcome to TV learning programs. I'm Julius as usual, and today I'm learning with Senior 4 students, entrepreneurship. And we are on our Unit 6, which is still market research. And our lesson today, we are going to look at factors influencing price decision, and even we shall look at the methods or ways of price determination. So in the previous lesson, we looked at factors that influence the market potential. We looked at the marketing variables, or the 4 Ps. So I want us to first remind ourselves on what we talked about. We said there are many factors that influence, that determine the market potential, whereby we talked about like the business location, where we talked about like the income of the consumer, where we talked about like the demand for the products, and many factors, those that influence the market potential of a product. We had factors like the size of population, the number of substitutes of the business products. So all those factors, we said, they may influence, they may affect the market potential of a business, either positively or negatively. Then we talked about the marketing variables, the elements that are used in marketing. And we talked about the 4 Ps. We said there are 4 Ps, the marketing variables, whereby we talked about the product, we talked about price, we talked about promotion, and we talked about place. The 4 Ps, the marketing variables, the elements that are used in marketing. So these are the components whereby we said the product, you have to explain them as you connect them to marketing. The product, we said, it is anything, it is a service or a good offered for sale on the market, provide utility. And this product, remember, you want to attract customers to buy your product. There is a way how it should be designed. We said your product should be designed well, it should be of good quality, it should have a good shape, it should have, maybe the scent should be attractive. The scent, it should be attractive, such that customers can be convinced to come and buy your product. So that's what we said a product is. Then we talked about the price, whereby the price, we said, is the cost of a commodity expressed in monetary terms, the monetary value of a commodity. So this price now, how do you connect it to marketing? Remember, the price of a commodity determines its quantity demanded. So the price set here should be affordable by the consumers. It should attract consumers to come and buy the product. And again, you must remember, the price set here should enable an entrepreneur to earn a profit. It shouldn't be too low, such that you incur a loss. So the price should be affordable by consumers, and therefore should also allow the entrepreneur to earn a profit. Then promotion, we looked at different ways how consumers may know what is available in the business for buying. Ways that are used to promote business products, informing the public, ways of informing the public about what is available in the business for purchasing or for buying. And we have different ways of sales promotion, forms of sales promotion, how you can stimulate the demand of your products. All these ways aim at stimulating the demand of your products, increasing the sales, whereby we talked about like using intensive advertising, offering after-sales services, price reductions, ensuring good customer care, all those ways or methods, using business cards to advertise, business flyers, all those ones can stimulate the demand of your business products. We talked about place. This place, we said, this deals with how goods can be made available to the consumers at their various places or locations and at the right time in the right quantities. So place here, it may involve various ways of distributing goods, the distribution channels, where you may need like agents You may need salesmen to help you avail goods to your customers located at different locations. So those are the 4 P's that we talked about. So today now, we are going to talk about the factors influencing price decision, because we had price as one of the elements of marketing. And I've already said price is the monetary value of a commodity, or the cost of a product or a commodity expressed in monetary terms. So now, let's see different factors that influence price decision. We have factor number 1, which is the government policy. The government policy, we have the government policy as factor number 1. The government policy or government influence. The government policies or government influence. So this is very important. So the government may set a maximum or a minimum price in order to protect consumers or producers from exploitation. There's what you call minimum price registration and maximum price registration, or price ceiling and price flooring. So in this case, the government may set a minimum price at which a product should be sold in order to protect the producers, and may set a maximum price at which an item should be, at which product should be sold, a commodity, to protect the consumers. So government policy or government influence may determine the price at which a commodity should be sold or should be offered to the consumers. Then we have the level of competition as point 2, the level of competition. What is competition? We are talking about competition. How does this one influence the pricing of goods and services? Level of competition. So what is competition? Here, when competitors are many, who is a competitor? Competitors or a competitor, this may be a person or an enterprise selling similar goods and services like yours. A business that is in the same line of production, that sells similar goods and services like yours. That is a competitor. So competition, you will find there are many sellers selling similar products like yours, and therefore you compete for the same buyers or same customers. You compete for the same buyers or customers. And maybe products you are selling are cross substitutes. They are cross substitutes. In that case, you are competitors. So when it comes to the pricing strategy here, you must know look at the competition. Look at the prices charged by your competitors. You remember here you need to attract customers. In this case, when competition is very high, you may set a lower price so that you attract customers to come and buy your products. You attract customers to come and buy your products. You may ask me that if maybe you charge a lower price, won't you get a loss? In this case, after attracting them, then you can create other ways of retaining them, and then you increase slightly on the price charged previously, such that you may not get a loss. So the level of competition can also influence pricing of goods and services. So if the level of competition is high, the price set will be low than when there is no competition. Talk about in economics, there's what you call monopoly. Under monopoly, where we have one seller of a commodity that has no cross substitutes. There are many buyers, but we have one seller of a commodity, and that commodity or those products he or she is selling, they have no cross substitutes. In that case, he has no competition. He is the price maker. That's why we say under monopoly there is the monopolist makes what he calls abnormal profits, because he's the price maker, makes abnormal profits. He has no competitors. What he is selling has no cross substitutes. So you make a lot of profits. So when there is no competition, when you are the only one selling given goods and services, you may charge a higher price. But when there is competition, then you have to charge a relatively low price so that you attract customers. So that is how the level of competition influences or affects price decision or pricing of goods and services. Demand of a product. The demand of the product. So if the level of demand is high, the price set will be high than when demand is low. And in most cases, when demand is high, so when the demand for a product is very high, when the demand for a product is very high. In this case, when very many people need the goods that you are selling, you may also raise the price. You may increase the price than when demand for your products is very low. Because when it is very low, that means that you have no market. So you need to attract customers. Those who are not willing, even you need to attract them to come and buy. So in this case, you may set a lower price because your products have no demand. People are not interested in buying them. So how can you stimulate now? How can you get their interest into your products? By setting a lower price. So, but if the demand for your products is very high, you may set a higher price than when the demand for your products is very low. So level of demand influences the price of a product. Then we have costs incurred, or costs of production. The costs incurred during the production of the products. Costs incurred. The costs incurred here, when you are producing a given item, there are costs that you must incur, variable costs and fixed costs. Variable costs, in most cases, the raw materials, those which are linked directly to the production of an item, these ones may influence the price set for the product. For example here, if you incur high costs in production of maybe, let us say, one loaf of bread, you are incurring a lot of money in producing it. For example, you have to know the raw materials that are linked directly with the production of this bread. Maybe wheat, maybe sugar, the workers that you have paid to manufacture this. So if the costs of those items is very high, the final product manufactured will also be sold at a higher price because you incurred a lot of money in the production of that very item, and therefore you cannot sell it at a lower price. That means you will get a loss. So the price here must increase, or you must set a higher price for that very product, simply because you incurred a lot of money in its production. Then we have the quantity bought by a particular customer. The quantity bought by a particular customer. Quantity bought by a particular customer. Quantity bought by a customer. By a customer. So how does this one influence the decision of the price? In this case, if a customer comes and he wants to buy very many things, in this case, you may offer a trade discount. You know, when you say discount, that is a reduction in the original price of a commodity. And once you offer a discount, when a business offers a discount, that discount is a discount allowed. That means the product has been sold at a lower price. And here, in this case, we have two forms, majorly. We have trade discount, the one that is offered to a customer who buys in bulk, or what you call large quantities, in bulk, in large quantities. So if someone buys in large quantities, then you may charge a lower price. Someone has come, maybe you are dealing in a hardware shop, selling the construction materials. He needs like 100 sacks of cement. Sacks of cement. He needs 100 bags of cement. And someone has come, he needs only one bag of cement. Bag of cement. And assume the price of one bag of cement is maybe 10,000. Someone who needs 100 bags of cement, you may charge a lower price, maybe at 9,500. You may reduce slightly for this person because he's buying in large quantities. But this one, buying one, you may not reduce, you may charge a higher price because it's buying fewer items. But this one is buying in bulk or large quantities. So the quantity bought by a particular customer may also influence the price set for the product. We have then different elasticity of demand for the product. So this is like part of economics, elasticity of demand, the degree of responsiveness of a commodity demanded. So in this case, different elasticity of demand for the product. So we have to look at two things, products with an elastic demand and products with elastic demand. So a product with an elastic demand will be charged a higher price than the one with elastic demand. So products which have got inelastic demand. So a smaller change in price may not affect the quantity demanded. A smaller change, a change in price may not affect the quantity demanded. So, but with elastic demand, products with elastic demand, a slight change in price causes a bigger change in quantity demanded. So in this case, products with inelastic demand, like necessities, e.g. salt, so a given change in price may not affect quantity demand. So they may be charged higher price than those with elastic demand. Then we have, let us look at the methods for determining prices, methods or ways for price determination. How do we determine prices? These are very many ways. Even these methods, we talk about them in economics. Under price theory, you talk about them, methods for determining prices in an economy. And these are almost similar methods that we are going to talk about here. One, we have haggling or bargaining, negotiation. So with negotiation, you know what it means. So here, a buyer and a seller must come to an agreeable price at which an item should be sold. You know, when it comes to negotiation, the buyer keeps on increasing what he has offered, and the seller keeps on reducing until a common price is reached. There, the price of the product will be determined at that point of agreement, or the price agreeable. Then we have auctioning. Auctioning. With auctioning, we have one seller of a product and there are many buyers. These buyers compete for the product. So the buyer that offers the highest price takes the product, So there are many buyers competing for a product. And the one who will give the highest price takes the product. So this is auctioning. This is where a seller, an auctioneer, offers goods for sale and requests for bids from buyers. The buyers compete for the product, and the one who offers the highest price then takes the product. And therefore, the price of the product will be determined at that point where the buyer is giving the highest price. That will be the price of the product, the highest price given. That will be the price of the commodity. Then we have fixing by treaties. Here, prices are fixed by treaties or by agreement. The buyer and the seller, they sign an agreement and they fix the price of the commodity. They agree that this product will be offered. Once it is produced, it will be offered at this, maybe 100,000 or maybe 50,000 Rwandan francs. So by treaties or signing agreement, buyers and sellers agree and fix a price at which the product should be sold. Then we have price legislation. Price legislation, this is where the government intervention comes in, the government influence, the government policy, whereby we have two, minimum price legislation and maximum. The government intervenes in order to protect consumers as well as producers from exploitation. The minimum price legislation, in this case, will protect the producers from being exploited by consumers. It sets a price at which a product should be sold. So price legislation it is where the government intervenes and sets the price for a commodity or for goods and services, such that both parties involved, that is the buyer and the seller, are not exploited. Then we have, for example, we can before we leave that point, price registration, we can take an example in transport services, whereby sometimes the government agency responsible for controlling the transport services intervenes and sets prices for different journeys, such that drivers may not exploit travelers, and again, travelers may not exploit the drivers, people who own the transport companies. That is now price registration. The government determining that from here up to here, it is 1,000, meaning that that price will enable the owner of the company gain a profit, and again, the one who wishes to travel can afford the transport fare. Then we have next point as interaction of forces of demand and supply. Next method, interaction of forces of demand and supply. You know what demand means, you know what supply means. Demand, that is the desire of a consumer for a commodity, backed by willingness and ability to have it. Then supply, you know, it is amount of a commodity that a producer is willing to offer on the market for sale at a given price in a given period of time. Now, with interaction of forces of demand and supply, we have to know that if the demand for goods is greater than the supply for the goods, it means here, if supply is very low, then there is scarcity. There is scarcity of goods. There is scarcity of goods. If there is scarcity of goods, then here we expect the price for goods charged to be high. So with here, the two forces, the forces of demand and supply must interact to determine the prices charged. Demand is high. Supply for goods is very low. Goods are scarce. And once goods are scarce, we expect prices to be high. This is very true when you have your goods, you're a producer, you are selling them, and very many people want them, and you have few. They are all coming to you, so you have to charge a high price. But now see, if supply of goods increases, for example, you know, during harvesting, like in the agricultural sector, during harvesting, supply increases for agricultural products. And when supply for agricultural products increases, then their prices go low. But now, after the harvesting period, during the time of scarcity, when demand increases and supply of goods are not there, the prices will be high. And when the supply of goods increases, we expect sellers to charge a low price in order to attract customers. So the forces of demand and supply in this case interact to determine the price charged for goods and services. Then we have resale price maintenance. Resale price maintenance. This is where a producer or manufacturer fixes the price for a commodity at which sellers, those are retailers now. So here the producer fixes the price at which sellers, in this case the retailers, have to sell the final product. For example now, let us look at the manufacturer or the producer of these airtime cards. Airtime cards. So he or she, the producer here or the producing firm, sets the price at which these airtime cards should be sold by different retailers. If it is a card for 1,000, then he or she should not charge 1,500. That will be the price charged or fixed by the producer or the manufacturer, and therefore the retailer must sell a given item at that very fixed price. So that is resale price maintenance. Resale price maintenance. Then before we wind up our today's lesson, I have some questions for you as a home assignment that I want you to write down and you work out them. Question Question 1. I want you to explain the factors that may affect price decision in a business. So here you can even come up with many factors. We have listed a few, but you can explain more. You can get more. Very many factors that may affect the pricing of goods and services, that may affect price decision in a business. There are many. You can come up with more factors. Then question 2, we have described ways how the price can be determined in the business. So here we need methods, ways of price determination. Hereby you can get more, like even we have price leadership, which we didn't talk about, where a dominant firm sets the price for other firms to follow. So price leadership. So you will have to look at, you have to explain more methods or ways how prices can be determined in a business. How prices can be determined in a business. Thank you very much for listening and paying attention to today's lesson. Hope you've understood something. We'll meet next time. Thank you. Stay safe.